Okay, so I'm going to start out with a quote by Albert Einstein that goes, "The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking as when we created them." And this quote brings up a good point. If there's something in your life you want to change, you can't change it unless you're willing to change something about yourself. So, specifically, we need to develop habits that can help us change things. And in the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey gives us 7 habits that can help us improve our lives and make these changes. And my intent is to inform you what the 7 habits are and how they can help us. So in his book, Stephen Covey discusses something called the maturity continuum, which is what this is behind me. And it moves progressively from dependence to independence to interdependence. And when we're young, we are dependent on other people. As we get older, we're independent and we can take care of ourselves. And then interdependence requires a higher level of thinking where we work with other people to achieve a higher goal. And today, I want you guys to imagine yourself as builders as we go through this independent model. Alright, so to begin with, the first 3 habits are the private victories. And the first habit is be proactive. So we're going to build this as we go along. And proactivity means that we are responsible for our own lives, and if we want to change something, we have to take initiative. So I want to tell you a quick story about a man named Viktor Frankl. And he was a Jewish psychiatrist who was imprisoned in the Nazi death camp. And during this time, most of his family was murdered, and he was tortured and suffered all types of inhumane trials. And Viktor Frankl realized that he had no control over his conditions, but he did have control over how he wanted to respond. So he decided to imagine himself lecturing future students. And he imagined this after he had already survived the death camp. Now, the Nazis may have held him captive, but he was able to gain control of his mind. So now he was in control, and he was able to inspire other people in the camp. And this is a good example of proactivity. If we want to control what's happening in our lives, then we need to be the ones to decide to do that. And there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that says, "No one can hurt you without your own consent." So next, the second habit is begin with the end in mind. And to begin with the end in mind, we need to envision what our end goal looks like. So, in other words, we need to know what we want so that we know what we need to do to get there. So, for example, if you want to lose weight, maybe you keep a pair of skinny jeans around, or a bathing suit that is a reminder and a motivator of what the end looks like. Now, habit 3 is put first things first. And this includes organization and execution. So, when we make a goal, we need to make a plan on how we're going to achieve that goal. So, for example, with the skinny jeans or the bathing suit, if we want to lose weight, we need to have a plan of exercising and eating better, and then we need to carry it out. And that is what it means to put first things first. So now let's move on to the public victories, which are the next 3 goals. And the first of those, or number 4, is to think win-win. Win-win is a specific mindset. This means that when you think win-win, you seek mutual benefits in your interactions with humans. So usually you hear about win-lose situations where someone loses and someone wins. With win-win, you are thinking of working with everybody to achieve a common goal. You're cooperating to find a better solution. Next, moving on to habit 5, it says seek first to understand and then to be understood. So Covey believes that communication is the most important life skill. He teaches that the 4 types of communication are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And we spend years of our life learning how to read and write and speak, but how much time do we really learn, or do we spend on learning to listen? And when people listen, a lot of us, how many are we trying to plan out what our response is? We're listening with an intent to respond rather than an intent to understand. And when we listen, what we should be doing is trying to imagine where that person is coming from. And next, habit 6 is synergize. And synergy means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In nature, we find synergy anywhere and everywhere. When you plant 2 plants next to each other and their roots are intertwined, then the soil around them is improved, and the plants will end up growing better and stronger than they would have as if they were apart. We can apply this example of synergy in our lives with our friends and our families in our jobs and at school. With synergy, we appreciate what others have to offer. And now we have reached interdependence on our continuum, and as builders, we've built our model. And the great thing about Habit 7 is that it's a tool that you can use to make this model. And that's why Habit 7 is sharpen the saw. And when you sharpen the saw, you are working on improving your greatest asset, and that asset is you. You sharpen the saw by improving the basic dimensions of human nature, which are physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. And these are the things that you can do to improve yourself. So in conclusion, I want you to imagine that as the builder, you're working on improving yourself, and that this model that we have built is actually a model of you. You have the power to make changes, and as Einstein has said, if you want to make a change, then you have to be the one to do it. You can't expect to make a change in your life if you're not expecting to make a change with yourself. And if we work on these 7 habits, then we can improve our lives and the very quality of our life. Thank you. You guys want to say hi to the camera? This is my audience. And then really quick, I'm going to zoom in on my model so that you can see it. Oh, I'm sorry, my time went over a little bit. That is that.